It is. Thank you very much, Hillary. We have Thomas Massey coming up in just a little while. Something that I have not heard from anybody, my analysis of the speech last night. I think everybody is missing the point of that speech. Bill O'Reilly is coming up, and Stephen Moore, to talk about the economic ramifications of what was proposed last night. Our sponsor this half hour is Bambee. If you're running a business right now, and I mean, I hate HR. When I hired my HR director, I said, I want you to know, I hate HR. You guys are the no police. So don't come to me with all this bull crap. Get that stuff done, and then help us find the way to make this a great place to work. That's what we found. Now, it cost me a buttload of money because there was not Bambee. Bambee wasn't around. It was created specifically for small businesses so you can get a dedicated HR manager, craft HR policy, maintain your compliance, all for $99 a month. If you have a small business, you have to have HR. You have to. Bambee will help you do it for $99 a month. From onboarding to terminations, everything to fit your business. Go to Bambee, BAMBEE.com/Glenn right now. Schedule your free HR audit, Bambee.com/Glenn.
What you are about to hear is the fusion of entertainment and enlightenment. This is the Glenn Beck Program.
Hello, America. It's Thursday. Last night, the president gave finally his kind of State of the Union, his plan for America. It's only about 100 days late, but, who's counting days? Oh, he is. But anyway, he's coming in, and all I want you to know is I need you to think like, I think his name was Admiral Akbar. I need you to think like him. It's a trap! And I think everybody's analysis that I have heard on the speech last night, very good, but they are missing a critical point. It's a trap! I will explain in 60 seconds.
The Glenn Beck Program.
So Diana wrote in. She said she wanted us to know about her experience with American financing. She said, I worked with Cindy, who was amazing from beginning to end. She guided me through the entire process from getting qualified for a loan to the closing. She was attentive, always followed up regarding the statutes of the loan, the documentation needed. She was prompt in returning phone calls and emails. Cindy was a team player, collaborated with my realtor, the little company, and the seller in order just to stay on track and on top. I can't thank you enough for recommending American Financing. I would 100% recommend her and American Financing to anybody who is trying to buy a house. Thank you, Cindy. Thank you, American Financing. When you pick up the phone and call American Financing, you're making a decision that will positively affect you, your family's life, and your budget. If you are looking to finance a house, to refi your loan, to consolidate a loan, please, these people do not work for the banks. They work for you. You can trust American Financing. Go to AmericanFinancing.net. That's AmericanFinancing.net, or call them at 800-906-2440. AmericanFinancing.net.
American Financing, NMLS 182334, www.nmlsconsumeraccess.org.
It's a trap! Well, what the heck does that mean? What does that mean? Last night, if you watched Biden's speech and you knew what you were looking for, it was a carefully crafted speech. In some regards, a little schizophrenic. We are a nation that, if I can quote, has had the plague on America of systematic racism, and yet we're the greatest country in the world. I mean, the speechwriter, I heard that he went to his psychiatrist the other day and said, you know, I'm hearing voices, and his psychiatrist said, you don't have a psychiatrist. So it's a little schizophrenic, but it was only schizophrenic because they were saying the things that people want to hear and then saying the things they have to say to be able to have a complete storyline in the end. This is probably the most important speech a president has given, and it's the biggest warning any progressive, Marxist, anyone who wants to thwart America has ever given. I need you to pay attention to this speech today. If you want to be prepared for what's coming, you have to pay attention to this speech, but in a different way. There are 4 things that he set up, and I'll go through them. First, white supremacy is a plague, and it is the biggest danger. In fact, he said, white supremacists are the most lethal threat to America. How do you define a white supremacist? Anyone who denies that there is some sort of, you know, white indoctrination and, you know, systematic racism. If you deny those things, you are a racist, a white supremacist. And so that is a threat. Second thing, he's questioning whether our democracy works. He wants it to work. He wants it to work. But he's not sure if it does. Third, China is the threat and the model, and they are not waiting around. 4, we have to act now, or our system doesn't work. Now, let me go through this. First, if you're a white supremacist, you believe in the Republic. You believe in the system of merit, that we should be judged not by our skin color, but by the content of our character. You believe in the founding documents. You believe that the amendments are absolute. Those rights are absolute. They come from God, not the government. That is going to be more and more defined as a white supremacist. Now, when he said our democracy doesn't work, you have to understand what he told the press before the speech. CNN reported, and I'm going to quote the president, CNN reported that before the speech, President Biden got together with a few of the elite media and had a conversation with them. This is so Woodrow Wilson, it's terrifying to me. You know, if you've listened to me for any time, I hate Woodrow Wilson. Woodrow Wilson was a racist and an absolute danger to the Republic. He's the guy that really started this ball rolling, and it was the final move. The final chess pieces are being put onto the table right now. So he met with the trusted news sources, and they do that so they can bring them in and so they can explain it to the dumb American people. Now, here's what he said, according to CNN, and I quote, "And I really believe, because I've spoken with over, I guess, 25, 30 heads of state, including Putin, including President Xi. I had a 2-hour conversation with President Xi. And I've been convinced for a long time, ... Look, I doubt whether most of you would agree with me, but I think we're going to... Look, they're going to write about this point in history, not about any of us here, but about whether democracy can function in the 21st century. What is he saying here? He's saying a lot. I've been convinced for a long time. Convinced of what? He stops. He never finishes that. Then he says, I doubt whether most of you would agree with me. About what? that they're going to write about this point in history, not about any of us here, but whether or not democracy can function in the 21st century. I would agree with that. Who wouldn't agree with that? The historians are going to look back at this time and say that's what was being decided. That's not controversial. What's controversial is what he didn't finish. I've been convinced for a long time. He says they're going to write about us, not about us here, but whether or not democracy can function in the 21st century. Then he says, not a joke. Whether autocracy is the answer. They were my discussions and debates that I've had many times that I've met with President Xi. Think about it. You know, things are moving so damn rapidly. Things are changing so rapidly in the world, in science and technology and a whole range of other issues, that the question is, in a democracy that's such a genius as ours, can you get a consensus in the time frame that can compete with autocracy? This tells you everything you need to know. He and his people do not agree. Neither did Woodrow Wilson. Neither did Mussolini. Neither did Hitler. Neither did Stalin. Neither did the New York Times. Back in the 1930s, this was exactly the conversation. And it started really with Wilson. Science was happening. Things were moving quickly. If we go to war, can we build a war machine fast enough? We need to have an autocracy because they can say, everybody make bullets. We're going to war. So it's centralized and it's directed by the government, so you can change on a dime. But that's not our system. By the way, we were never going to be able to catch up with Germany. In 1941, we were so far away from being prepared for that war, especially against Germany, which had the best planes, the best tanks, the best of everything. By 1944, the American free market kicked its ass. So this is not a new idea. So what is he saying? He is setting up before the speech, I think we all should question our democracy. Then in the speech, he sets the trap. He's saying people are questioning. He's not saying him. He's saying people are questioning all around the world. Can a democracy work? So that's the framework of the speech. So every time that he said, you'll notice he said it a lot, the world won't wait. We've got to make these changes now. Quoting, I'd like to meet with those who have ideas that are different, I think, and that they think are better. I welcome those ideas. But the rest of the world is not waiting for us. I want to be clear. Doing nothing is not an option. We can't be so busy competing with one another that we forget that the competition we have here is the rest of the world to win the 21st century. Then he goes in another time. I've traveled with President Xi, blah, blah, blah. He's deadly earnest about becoming the most significant, consequential nation in the world. He and others, the autocrats, think democracy can't compete. Then he later says, the world is caught up or catching up. They're not waiting. I would say if we are sitting down and putting a bipartisan committee together and we said, okay, we have to now decide what we're going to do in terms of government providing free education, I wonder what we'd think. Well, we wouldn't have that conversation under a republic. Constitutional republic, you don't have that conversation. He also started the first 14 minutes. I can't tell you how many times. Go back and watch it if you can. He kept saying that it was the people in that room. You made the difference. You are saving lives. You are the reason we are getting past COVID. You are the reason why our economy is coming back. Not the American people, but Congress. He said over and over again, we have to have the courage to act now. We can't wait. He made it very clear China is the threat and the possible model if we can't get our crap together. The fourth thing was we have to change. And we are competing, so we have to act right now. And I want this to happen. But we got to act right now because the world won't wait. The whole theme of this was crisis and opportunity. That's how he started it. Crisis and opportunity. So let me tell you what's going to happen. Give me a 1 minute break, and then I'll come back and tell you how this is a trap and how it's all going to play out in the playbook. There are very few times that I'm on the air and I just know. I know it's right. I'm telling you, I know this is right. I know this is right. Please pay attention to this. I'll tell you how it's going to play out here in just a second. Dan lives in New York. Whew. Sorry about that. He's a semi-professional bodybuilder. That's so weird, Dan. Me too. Dan's been suffering from shoulder pain for quite a while due to an injury he sustained while lifting weights. I know, brother. Tell me about it. It was bad enough that he and his doctor were talking about him getting a shoulder replacement. But he kept hearing me talk about Relief Factor on the radio, began to wonder if it was possible that that could help him. He wasn't especially hopeful, but the prospect of shoulder replacement really didn't sound very fun. He literally had nothing to lose, everything in the world to gain. So within a couple of weeks after beginning to take it, he said the pain went away. His mobility began to return. Dan got his life back. Dan, I can't tell you how happy I am for you, sincerely. I know what it's like. Relief Factor, it's not a drug, but it was developed by doctors. 70% of the people who try Relief Factor go on to order more. You'll know within 3 weeks. So try their 3-week trial pack. If it's not working, don't order it anymore. But if it is, your life will change. Get your life back with ReliefFactor.com. Call 800-500-8384, 800-500-8384. It's ReliefFactor.com. 10 seconds, station ID. Okay, so this is what's happening. I need you to understand the first thing he said was this is a crisis and an opportunity. The opportunity is to change, to transform. He then spent an hour making the case on why we need to transform, because the world has changed. All of that is true, but he's not questioning. But people are questioning whether democracy can make it in the 21st century. And so he laid down a challenge. Now, he didn't say it this way, but if you go back and read the speech, you will see it clearly is implied all the way through. What he's saying is our democracy doesn't work because it's too slow. And so we have all of these things. We have the chance right now to heal our country from white supremacy. And all we have to do is pass this bill right now. Put it on my desk. Let me sign it. But do it now. We have the chance to heal our wounded economy. But the only way to do it is to pass this $2 trillion bill. And you've got to do it right now because the world's not going to wait. The world is going to pass us. So when these things are slowed down, when these things are not passing, or they're not passing in a bipartisan fashion, which they will not, and not because they're playing political games, but because these things are dangerous and deadly. It's poison. It's poison. He will then make the case, this doesn't work. That's why we need to have the Supreme Court reformed. If there's any obstacle in slowing these things down, that will be the case. The world will not wait. We're going to be passed. It's too slow. It doesn't work. It's why they will pass the... Remember what he said a few weeks ago? It's all about timing. It's all about timing. So when he says we have to pass, the filibuster, he's not there. He's not there. He's still looking at it. He's got some people looking into that. What he's waiting for is something, maybe 2 or 3 things not to pass that he says are really important. And when they don't pass because of Republicans, that's when he will go after the filibuster. And he will make the case that democracy, the way we have it, is too slow. Our Constitution is built to slow Washington down, because they know a fast government can take rights away from people at the blink of an eye. And we know that to be true because of COVID. All of these things that he outlined last night, basically it's this. If you believe in the Republic, you are a threat to the nation, and we will find you and stop you. The implication here is, because I'm not a white supremacist, I don't believe in white supremacy, I don't like white supremacists, I don't know any, but I think they're a real danger. But that's not what he's talking about. I wish he were talking about that, but that's not the biggest threat to our democracy. There's what? Let's be generous. 5,000, 10,000, 100,000 of them? That's the biggest threat our democracy has ever seen? That's ridiculous. You and I both know it. So the implied threat is you get on the bandwagon or you will be hunted by us. Second thing, when we pass these things, it's a trap. You will work for the government. The government will allow you to create a union, so you'll have a good-paying union job. The government will then direct through a public-private partnership what you're going to be doing. Oh, and by the way, what you're going to be doing is changing every house in America. We're going to go and rebuild those bad water lines in 400 schools, and that's going to change the world. Then, as a gift also to the labor unions, our children are going to go to school for 2 to 4 more years. That has nothing to do with our kids. That has everything to do with the labor unions and indoctrination. So your kids will be indoctrinated by this labor union. You will be working for the government, and you will be silenced if you don't agree. And anyone who stands in the way, congressionally, through the court system, we will take action against it because the world won't wait. We're at a critical point. Well, we are at a critical point, and this is the point we decide whether we are going to be free or not. I would put my money on the table and never bet against a free America. The entrepreneur and the spirit of America. I would never bet against that, especially against any autocratic rule. It might look bad for a time, but if we are free and the government is out of our way, there is nothing we can't accomplish.
This is the Glenn Beck Program.
Thomas Massey is coming up in just a second. Ira lives in Virginia. She wrote in about her dog, Shiloh. She says, the day the trial package came, I put some on my hand and offered it to Shiloh. He licked it clean. Ever since, he's been very anxious about mealtime. When I mix it in his kibble, he stands up and begs for his bowl. He was always a picky eater before, but not anymore. He has more energy, wants to play more often. Rough Greens is such great stuff. Thank you so much. Rough Greens, not a dog food, but it's something you put on your dog's food, full of antioxidants, probiotics, all these things. They're going to send you a free bag. You just have to pay for the shipping. You get a free bag just to see if your dog is like Shiloh or like Uno and will eat this. If they eat it, if they like it, I'm telling you, it changes them. Not especially picky eaters. They will run to the bowl and they will start to eat their food, and you don't have to stand around and watch them or coax them into it. They'll love it. And then, month after month, you'll see big changes in your dog. So get the free bag of Rough Greens and just try it out. It's ruffgreens.com/Beck. Just make sure they'll eat it. 833-GLEN with 2 N's 33 or ruffgreens.com/Beck. This is the Glenn Beck Program. We want to bring on Thomas Massey. He is the congressman from Northern Kentucky. He is somebody who went to MIT, has a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering, master's degree in mechanical engineering. While he was in school, he invented technology that just is in use everywhere now. He's got like 29 different patents. The guy is really, really brilliant, knows what's on the horizon, knows the threats that losing our place with technology will cause. and watched the speech last night. Thomas Massie, welcome to the program. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, Glenn. I used to work in artificial and intelligence and virtual reality, and now I'm in Congress working in artificial intelligence and virtual reality.
It is crazy, isn't it? It's crazy. It was the most schizophrenic speech I've ever heard. We have systematic racism all throughout our justice system, but the cops, vast majority, are great, and they have nothing to do with it. Wait, what? It's a great country, but we've got to change it fundamentally. I mean, it was a schizophrenic speech.
Yeah, speaking of schizophrenia, he blamed China for subsidizing their private companies and being in bed with government, yet that's what he's proposing to do with all of these programs. Let's start with the virtual reality here. It was high theater. If you looked at the room, they had 5 seats at least between every member. But I fly back and forth from Congress with these members. They sit shoulder to shoulder on the airplanes with everybody else.
Right.
But the planes are packed
Right.
these days. They spend more time on the airplane than they did in that room. And you know everybody in that room has either been vaccinated, acquired immunity through infection, or is wearing a freaking mask.
Thomas, I watched the pre-feed, so I got the network feed 45 minutes early. So I'm watching them all come into the room. They're all hugging each other. They're all kissing through the masks. They're standing right next to each other. There was no social distancing until the network started their coverage. Then everybody went to their positions. It was high theater.
You're absolutely right. And I've been on the floor. It's not within the rules for me to take a picture, but I might have done that. I'm not saying I did, but I might have pictures of Democrats hugging each other in large groups on the floor of the House. Meanwhile, Pelosi will sue you if you don't wear a mask. But that's the theater. Here's another thing, Glenn. Speaking of the schizophrenia, he said 650 billionaires in America saw their net worth increase by more than $1 trillion during the pandemic. Well, that's what I said was going to happen back at March 27th of not this year, but last year when they passed the first $2 trillion bill. And I'm not singling out Joe Biden. I'm singling out everybody in D.C. who wouldn't stand up and even vote on the freaking bill. Remember, I was the guy CNN called the most hated man in Washington, D.C. That's probably the first and last time they ever got a headline right. And I was hated for simply saying we need to vote on it and we need to read the bill. That was the first $2 trillion. We've spent $6 trillion. I said these little checks, then I know they're consequential, but they're little in comparison to the amount of money that was spent. That's the cheese in the trap. These $2 trillion bills are the biggest wealth transfer from the middle class to the upper class in the history of mankind.
And you're not even talking about the $6 trillion that the Fed has just printed or digitized and given to the banks. $6 trillion in the last 12 months.
When Biden, he had to go from $10 minimum wage to $15 minimum wage because that's how much they've devalued the dollar in a year.
So what was the thing, Thomas, that stuck out to you the most? What is the thing that you think people are missing? What's the clarion call here on this?
Well, the biggest thing is he's not a moderate. If you had any hopes of him governing as a moderate, you can disabuse yourself of that notion. He is full hardcore left. He promoted every one of Nancy Pelosi's bills, which, by the way, were crafted by the most radical left elements of her party that have passed the House of Representatives. They're all, you know them by their number. They're HR less than 10, I call them.
Right.
I never vote for HR less than 10. Even when we're in the majority, those are usually pretty bad bills. But there was HR 1, which would fundamentally change elections and federalize them, make voter ID virtually impossible to implement. There's HR 8, the gun control bill, that all the other HR less than 10s, which are so radical. When they pass the House, we say, yeah, they passed the House, but they'll never make it through the Senate. But he's there pounding on the lectern and say, send me these bills, I'll sign them. Folks, he's not anywhere near moderate, and he's a captive of the radical left within their party.
So, Thomas, we did the math yesterday. One thing you didn't hear, and I've always heard this my whole life when you're watching the networks cover these things, they would always say, just on the back of the napkin, what I heard was this president suggested that we would spend an additional $481 billion. Last night, just in the two packages he talked about, not everything else, just in the two packages, that's almost $5 trillion. We have, in the last 12 months, spent and digitized $19 trillion if these two bills pass. $19 trillion in the last 12 months. I'm not as good at math as you are. When he said, this economy is going to turn around, we are going to have a boom, but it's going to be coupled with massive inflation at the same time, is it not?
Absolutely. We're on a sugar high right now. He said that the America Rescue Plan, we're already seeing the results of it. And I say, yeah, if you want to see the results of it, go try to buy a sheet of plywood. And you will see the results of the American Rescue Plan. And by the way, while we're talking numbers, $5 trillion is about 20% of GDP. Biden bragged that GDP is going to go up 6% this year. Well, if you're spending 20%, if you're throwing out the money and you're spending 20%, is it a miracle that it goes up 6%? No, where'd the other 14% go?
When he was proposing this jobs plan, and he said, we've got to build America strong, and we're gonna fix our infrastructure, and he talked about the lead pipes. Okay, fine. That's bad. We should have no lead in our water pipes, et cetera, et cetera. But he said these are good jobs. No, they're not. That is fixing 200 schools and colleges or whatever he said had the lead pipes, and that's fixing those institutions. That's not something that creates wealth or creates new jobs. So how are these jobs now directed by the government going to create new wealth?
It's not going to. Then the checks are keeping people at home. People are
which is in turn adding to inflation.
That's right.
Because we can't get people to make things.
Used car prices are going up quickly. And the jobs he's talking about are tradespeople. I put them on a higher plane than college graduates, frankly.
Yep.
But
I do too.
They're more scarce than college graduates. They're more political science majors, I guarantee it, than there are plumbers and electricians. And these are the kind of jobs that he's talking about. But they're already, if you have that skill, you can go to work tomorrow. Those folks are always in demand. So he's, and what passes for infrastructure? I'm on the transportation committee. Okay, I would, this is one of my guilty things as a libertarian-leaning Republican. I actually believe government has a place in building the roads. And so I said, put me on the transportation committee. It's one of the few things we should be spending money on. So I could be for an infrastructure bill. Look, we spend $60 billion a year on roads and bridges at the federal level. Yet we've spent $6 trillion. Like the $60 billion that we've spent it's like less than 1% of the money that's gone out the door. But that's about the ratio you're going to get on his infrastructure bill that's coming up. They're calling everything infrastructure.
Could you change subject, because you would be one guy that understands this. Apple is saying that the price of their products are going to go up because of the chip shortage. Ford just had a record-breaking quarter, but now they're saying that they are going to have to reduce the number of cars that they're building because of the chip shortage. What is that caused by, and what does that mean?
Well, in my pastime here, or as a hobby, I design electrical circuits. And I can tell you, I did this 20 years ago, but as a hobby, I'm doing it now. You have two choices when you buy chips now. You can either buy Chinese branded chips made in China, or you can buy American or Japanese branded chips made in China. Like literally, wow. We don't have the capacity it's from chips, like whether it's a factory that makes chips or a factory that forges the castings for our machine tools. There are certain fundamental capabilities that are critical to our economy, but also to our national defense. We just don't have the capability
I have to tell
of
you,
doing anymore.
This is where that's infrastructure that I would support. Give us, help us build the infrastructure to be able to, or make it easy by cutting regulations to build the things where we can be independent. This is insanity. In a world where chips run everything, we don't make them anymore?
We don't make them anymore. It's scary. And the change in the last 20 or 30 years, you used to be able to buy a chip that was made in a foundry here in the United States, or you could buy one overseas. But the domestic option is not an option anymore. You can buy a domestic brand that's made overseas.
Right.
But that is it for 99.99% of these chips.
Okay, so tell me, why is this happening? Is this just because of the COVID slowdown in shipping? Is this intentional on China's part? And what can we do?
I don't think it's intentional. I think they had a small slowdown. Hubei province, Wuhan, that's where a lot of this activity actually is. So they had a small slowdown there. You had a kink in virtually every aspect of our own supply system here in the United States. The chip manufacturers aren't going to keep making chips when you're not making the appliances that use those chips.
Correct.
So they slow down, but now the appliance industry here in the United States is doing great. They can't keep up with the demand of refrigerators, dishwashers, washing machines. Part of that's because everybody's staying home. Part of that's because you just put, $1,500 in their hands per family member, $1,400. So demand's going through the roof. Where it's a sample. It's like when a bridge, there's an accident on a bridge and traffic backs up, and you realize how reliant you are on that bridge, how everything is, on both sides of the river shut down. It's the same thing with this. This is a wake-up call. It's like the bridge got temporarily shut down. We'll get over this. It's not intentional on China's part. But what do we do later?
Right. Is there anybody working on it? I'm sorry, I'm up against the network break. Is there anybody doing anything about it, or that we can do about it?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. Thomas Massie, I have so much to talk to you. Maybe we'll have you back on, because I want to talk to you about the future of the Republican Party. So maybe we can invite you to come back on with us. I appreciate you spent with us today. Thank you so much.
It's an honor to be on your show, Glenn. Thank you so much.
You bet. Thomas Massie. Bill O'Reilly is coming up in a second. First, let me tell you about our sponsor this half hour. It's MyPillow. If you haven't done it already, here's what you need to do. Mike Lindell has designed your sleep life. It's great, from designing the perfect pillow, the softest sheets, great mattress toppers. Mike has been on a roll. Now I think he's outdone himself. He has come up with My Slippers. I wear My Slippers all the time, especially when I'm out with my kids. But they have a rubber sole on them, so you can use them inside and outside. They're like moccasins. They're really soft. They've got a gel pack in the bottom of them. So it's really, really comfortable, both indoor and outdoor. These are a dad's dream. My wife loves her My Slippers. Get My Slippers. If you're looking for slippers, she was looking for some slippers, and I don't know, she had like UGG slippers or something stupid and expensive. And she got the My Slippers, and she was like, these are great. These are great. She's wearing My Slippers. I'm wearing them all the time, much to my children's chagrin. MySlippers.com. Go there now at MyPillow.com. Click on the new radio listener specials and use the promo code Beck and receive the offer of My Slippers at a discounted price, 40% off, 1-year warranty, 60-day money-back guarantee. MyPillow.com, promo code Beck, or call 800-966-3117, MyPillow.com.
So we get warnings all the time about different things that cyber criminals can do to separate us from our cash. I mean, every other day there's another story about a grocery store or a hotel chain or a social media website that gets hacked, and then millions of people's personal information is accessed. Next thing you know, a ton of money gets stolen. This happens all the time. You hear about it every day. But what you don't hear about much is home title theft. It's really a bigger deal in a lot of ways, because it's not like they're taking it for a few $1,000s. This is your equity to your home. It could be $100,000 or more. Here's how it works. A cyber criminal forges your name on the deed stating you sold your home to them, and then he can do kind of whatever he wants. He can access your equity. He can borrow against it. The payments come, you're going to be one responsible for it. Maybe you could say goodbye to your house altogether. It's happened to thousands of people. The good news is Home Title Lock works by putting up a virtual barrier around your home's title, kind of firewall that allows them to know if someone's trying to tamper with it. Then home title fraud is gone. It's a little-known crime, but it's on the rise in a big way, so stop it. Just get rid of it. HomeTitleLock.com. Register your address and see if you're already a victim and don't even know it yet. Then use the code RADIO for 30 risk-free days of protection. The code is RADIO at HomeTitleLock.com. This is your most important investment, so you got to protect it. Got to protect your equity. Don't let it slide. HomeTitleLock.com. The code is RADIO.
This is the Glenn Beck program. Mr. Bill O'Reilly is coming up. Last night, in response to Tim Scott's rebuttal, here's NBC's Nicole Wallace.
And Operation Warp Speed didn't do anything to get a needle into an arm. So a lot of disinformation. It felt almost scripted by someone close to the president who wanted that revision of
President
history.
Trump?
Correct.
This is so frustrating.
Wow.
No.
Operation Warp Speed didn't get a needle in an arm.
I invite people
Had nothing to do with it.
Today, take a moment and go search, and I know I wouldn't normally recommend this, but go search for 60 Minutes and an interview with General Gus Perna. He is the guy, and this happened during the Trump administration, who is leading the effort for logistics on vaccine distribution. Watch that clip, which is like 15 minutes. It's worth it because he goes through the entire thing, how difficult it is, all the backup plans that they have put in place already, all of the problems they're predicting and trying to deal with when the vaccine finally is done. It's an entire logistics plan. We put one of our best generals on it. And here's the thing. What's interesting about it is Gus Perna, the general, running this for the Trump administration. He's doing all this, and they have no plan whatsoever, we're told by the media. Guess who's still running the logistics operation for the vaccine? General Gus Perna. The same guy Trump put in charge is still doing it right now. It's like one of the few people they held over
I
in the
think
transition.
I think if I were Donald Trump, my head would have popped last night. Just would have popped.
This is the Glenn Beck program.
Hey there, happy Thursday. I'm Hillary. This is your 4-Minute Buzz, and here's some more of today's top stories. In Hour 1, we reviewed President Biden's first address to a joint session of Congress. He made lots of proposals and claims, and as expected, many on the right strongly disagreed with much of what he said. After the speech, Senator Tim Scott presented the Republican rebuttal, and he hammered Biden hard over what he said about race. Here's just some of Senator Scott's argument.
Today, kids are being taught that the color of their skin defines them again. And if they look a certain way, they're an oppressor. From colleges to corporations to our culture, people are making money and gaining power by pretending we haven't made any progress at all, by doubling down on the divisions we've worked so hard to heal. You know this stuff is wrong. Hear me clearly. America is not a racist country. It's backwards to fight discrimination with different types of discrimination. And it's wrong to try to use our painful past to dishonestly shut down debates in the present.
And Glenn and fellow Blaze TV host Mark Levin also offered their rebuttal after the speech. If you didn't catch it, it's available now on Blaze TV. And Levin brought up some great points. Here's what he had to say about where the Democratic Party is now.
The Democrat Party is now gone as the traditional kind of old liberal Democrat Party. That simply does not exist anymore. And when you hear them say, Biden said it tonight, John Kerry has said it before, even if we get rid of every carbon molecule, it's not enough. Yep. Then we got to go back into the atmosphere and suck it out with a giant Hoover. They don't even know what carbon dioxide is. The fact of the matter is there's no end to this. What did Black Lives Matter, one of their spokesmen said? We're never stopping. It doesn't matter how many cops are found guilty. Well, what is that exactly? It's not liberalism. It's not democratic socialism. It's Marxism. They want to take down the society.
And in more news, yesterday, federal agents raided the apartment of former President Trump's personal lawyer, Rudy Giuliani. The raid was part of an investigation into his alleged overseas lobbying efforts for Trump in Ukraine. Search warrants were obtained, and the agents seized multiple electronic devices from the property. Many in the media characterize this as a major turning point in the investigation, but others, including Giuliani, believe the raid was just meant to make him look bad. If that's the case, though, some pointed out that Trump was impeached for allegedly looking for dirt on a political opponent, and Trump hasn't ruled out a 2024 run yet. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki was asked about this possible conflict of interest, and here's what she said.
I have to get your thoughts on Rudy Giuliani. There are those out there who will suspect the timing of this. It's being done under this administration, done under Merrick Garland as Attorney General. They might accuse this administration of political targeting.
Well, first, I can assure you that what is new or may feel different in this administration is that the Justice Department is independent. The president made that clear when he announced the nomination of Merrick Garland, and the Attorney General made clear in his hearing that he would not have taken the job unless he could operate in an independent manner. So people should know that, and I assure you our focus here is on the joint address tonight, on announcing the American Families Plan, and certainly not on Rudy Giuliani.
I'm Hillary. That's your 4-Minute Buzz. Now here's Glenn and Stu with the second hour of the show.
Really excited to hear from Bill O'Reilly here in just a second. I gave you my thoughts on the overview of the speech, what I thought was the main point, and I haven't heard it from anybody else yet. If you missed it, it's in hour number 1. Make sure you go to Blaze TV and grab that. Bill O'Reilly's coming up in just a second. And the one thing that I did see him tweet last night that I completely agree with, it was the most boring speech. It was an important speech, but one of the most boring speeches I've ever seen.
Yeah,
I mean,
totally true.
He really is.
It's almost a strategy, right? Like his plan is to bore you into thinking he's not doing anything when he is doing a lot of things.
Correct. And I don't think that's a strategy. I looked at the clock. It was 9:14 Eastern time when I heard his voice change, where he was kind of full voice, and then he just kind of got down like this, and he was like, "Hey, listen." Where he ran out of steam 14 minutes into it.
You're saying he made it 14 minutes? That's pretty good. I gotta say, I know.
He's a powerhouse.
The under bet on that one, I think.
Yeah. They say that it was so weird and quiet in the chamber yesterday that you could hear somebody's phone click on and off. They said it was bizarre. We're going to hear from Bill O'Reilly and what he thought the main points of the speech were coming up.
What you are about to hear is the fusion of entertainment and enlightenment. This is the Glenn Beck Program.
Hello, America, and welcome to Thursday. Normally, it's Friday that we have Bill O'Reilly on, but I thought we would do it early this week because of the president's speech. Bill O'Reilly and everything you need to know in 60 seconds.
The Glenn Beck Program.
Ready or not, here comes the lawn mowing season. Once again, your yard is going to start growing like a weed. You have to stay on top of it, and I don't know how much time you spend mowing your lawn, but if you're spending a couple of hours, hour and a half mowing the lawn, we can cut that time in half with a zero-turn lawnmower from Hustler. Now, you can get zero-turn lawnmowers, anywhere. They're practically selling them at 7-Eleven now. And I would highly recommend that you try out. Go to Home Depot or wherever and try other lawnmowers out. Then find a Hustler dealer and test drive one of those. You will see the difference. These are the people that invented the technology back in the 50s and 60s and perfected it, and they've been making the professional lawnmowers for a long time that are meant to be, used 8 hours a day, 6 days a week. They're the ones that, cut all the highway grass, et cetera, and all of our football fields and parks. Hustler Turf, been around for a while. Hustler zero-turn lawnmower, been around since the 1960s. You will see the difference, and it will cut your lawn in about half the time. HustlerTurf.com. Go there now, find a Hustler dealer near you, and test drive a Hustler lawnmower. There's just nothing like it. HustlerTurf.com. That's HustlerTurf.com. The new book that comes out, I think, next Tuesday from Bill O'Reilly is Killing the Mob, one of his best books yet, I think. Killing the Mob, available now for pre-order at BillO'Reilly.com or wherever you buy your books. Mr. Bill O'Reilly, welcome to the program, sir.
Beck, thanks for having me in. You know, I think what happened to President Biden last night, about 8 minutes into the speech, is he segued into his Don Corleone voice. Luca, my great friend. You know, that's what it was.
He does have that. Yeah, he does.
You know,
he does.
I told Bozzini I didn't know until today. It was Bozzini all along. All right, that's what happened. He saw The Godfather probably this week. They playing it every hour on the hour, and he kind of just segued into his Don Corleone voice.
So Bill, I would have to agree with you that it was the most boring speech. I mean, it was relentlessly boring.
Oh,
but
my God.
I think it was extraordinarily important what he said.
Well, I don't know about that. I didn't learn anything from the speech.
Wow.
And I don't think that Americans understand the big picture, and certainly Joe Biden doesn't understand what he's doing. I mean, he didn't.
Oh, I think he does. I think he does.
No, I disagree 100%. The reason I'm saying this is that speech last night could have been written by Rod Serling, the Twilight Zone guy.
Yeah.
That's how unrealistic and fantastical, word of the day for Stu, fantastical that speech was.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot.
Why do you say that?
Because the country owes $28 trillion now. All right? And they have to pay the United States and all of us who live here. We have to pay interest on that debt to investors who bought bonds, to foreign countries. We have to pay it. So Biden comes up, and last night alone, all his plans, I know you noticed this, there's a lot of plans, Beck. There's plans.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
we
have the family plan and the COVID relief plan, the infrastructure plan, the American jobs plans, a lot of plans. And the plans add up just last night to $6 trillion. So I'm not a math whiz, but I'm going 28 trillion plus 6 is 34 trillion. Okay? So there are not enough wealthy people or evil corporations to even dent that. You can't, I mean, he's going up there, oh, we're going to give you everything. If you have a baby, we're going to pay for your babysitter. That's what he actually said. All right? So child care is babysitting. Feds are going to pay, all right? Universal child care. What does that mean? That means if you don't have a job and you just want to get rid of the little tyke for 5 or 6 hours a day, the feds are going to pay. It's not necessary. You're not going to be tied into, well, you've got to work. No, it's universal child care. Then pre-K, we're going to start our schooling at 3 years old. We'll pay for all of that because we're going to have to build new schools with new teachers and new facilities because 3-year-olds is a little tough going into the school when they don't even know their name, okay? Then when you get through the public schooling, and by the way, when you get into the public school, the federal government is going to order, if you want block grant money, you to teach critical race theory. And critical race theory is basically white people are bad. All right. Then you get through the school, and then we're going to pay for your community college. Now, why you can't pay $3,000 or $4,000 for community college, I don't know, but Joe's going to do it. So then it's like ka-ching, 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 ka-ching. It's never going to happen. It's impossible, financially and structurally. But because of all that President Biden said, I have given him a new nickname, Beck, and I'm going to announce it on your program right now. Are you ready?
Okay. I'm all a tingle.
This is, with respect, forever on, President Biden should be known as, you ready?
Yeah.
Joey
Hang on. Don't say it yet. Stu, have you connect? No, have you
Radio
Stu,
Hall
have
of
you
Fame,
alerted
Bill.
the
He's in
press?
the Radio
Have you
Hall of
alerted
Fame.
the press yet?
No.
I just want to make sure we have everybody.
You
Go ahead.
stepped on my line.
Of course he did. Of course. Welcome to my world.
The nickname is now Joey Warbucks, cousin of Daddy Warbucks from Annie fame. Joey Warbucks, okay? Hey, he's going to take out the big roll. He's going to peel off a couple of tens. Hey, here I am. I'm Joey Warbucks. So this is crazy, all right? And anyone with a modicum of intelligence or any political science background at all or any economic background, anybody would know. So this is what amused me the most. Right after Joey Warbucks got off the stage, CBS took a snap poll of CBS viewers. And guess what? 85% of them liked the speech. Wow. 85% of CBS News viewers liked the speech. That's like Fox News taking a poll after a Trump speech. It's the same thing. If you're not a Democrat leftist, you don't watch CBS News. Doesn't anybody understand that? So this whole thing, to me, it is, I'm going to revise my disagreement with you. The speech was important because of the absurdity of it. But it wasn't important in the sense that any of this is ever going to happen. Let me make one more point, and this is an important point. At the end of the speech, Biden sneaks in a little border stuff, all right? That was not, the border and the race was played down in the speech.
Yes.
And Biden says to the American people, you know, when I was vice president, my boss, Barack Obama, put me in charge of Honduras, Guatemala, El Salvador, and the root causes of migration into the USA. And I had that problem solved. Me, Joe Biden, I did it. But then Trump came in and wrecked it. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
You don't remember it, do you? It was at the end when everybody was somnambulent, another word of the day. Everybody's like, oh, please end this, all right? So he says that he, Joe Biden, solved the migration root cause. In the 8 years Barack Obama was president and Biden was vice president, they deported more human beings from the United States than any other administration combined. But Joe solved it. So we're at a point now in America, because of the corrupt press, where you can go on, if you're a politician, and say anything. You can say Godzilla is going to come on Thursday, so you better all, hunker down. And it's fine. If Godzilla doesn't show up, so he didn't come, he's late. This is the country we're living in now, and it's a little frightening.
So I want to ask you a couple of things, because what I picked up from the speech was that he's not, but other countries are questioning whether democracy can compete. Whether we are going to be fast enough to compete to win against these autocracies in the 21st century. And I've talked to President Xi and President Putin, and they don't believe we can compete. Really, our communist and state killer don't think that America can win. And he said, we just have to move. We have to move. We have to move. This is important because of what he said to the press prior to. He met with some of the trusted anchors, and I'm quoting him. Before the speech, he said, and I really believe, because I've spoken with over, I guess by the time, 25, 30 heads of state, including Putin and President Xi, I had a 2-hour conversation with him. And I've been convinced for a long time. Well, look, I doubt many of you would agree with me, but I think we're going to... Look, they're going to write history about this point in history. Not about any of us in here, but about whether or not a democracy can function in the 21st century. Not a joke. Whether autocracy is the answer. They were my many discussions that I have had many times when I've met with President Xi. Think about it. Things are moving so rapidly. Things are changing so rapidly in the world in science and technology, the whole range of other issues. The question is a democracy that's such a genius as ours, can you get a consensus in the time frame that can compete with an autocracy? So when he was saying, you pass it now, pass it now, pass it now, you got to do it now, the world won't wait, he was setting up that our democracy, as our republic is spelled out, is just not working. We have to make fundamental changes to the system because it's just not working. Look, all the American people agree. And there's just some people that are just stubborn and, quite honestly, part of this white racism and this systemic racism that just won't agree and won't help us move forward. And we've got to move. We got to change. I really think this was the cornerstone speech to be able to come back maybe a year from now and say, we tried it, but they won't move. I begged them, but they wouldn't move.
Right, they won't do it. Well, that's the transformative philosophy that Barack Obama has. That's what that is. But Joe Biden doesn't know what he's saying. You don't think he really understands what he's saying, do you?
I do, to some extent. I don't think he's creating any of it.
He doesn't know the bigger picture of what his acolytes are telling him. He doesn't understand that by printing $6 trillion, the U.S. Treasury Department will impose tremendous inflation on this country. Joe Biden doesn't know that. He doesn't know macroeconomics. So if you have money in the bank...
Bill, I'm a high school graduate, and I know that.
Right.
Okay, I'm a high school graduate.
He doesn't know it. In his diminished capacity, all right, he doesn't understand what he's saying as far as the repercussions of it or the unintended consequences of it. It's obvious because if I'm or you are interviewing Joe Biden, Beck or O'Reilly, and he's there, it's one-on-one, it would be a catastrophe for Mr. Biden, would it not? A catastrophe. Because you could say to him, look, what you're proposing is socialism, Mr. President. That's what you're proposing. You want the government to control policing. That's what the George Floyd bill is all about. You want the government to control elections when clearly in the Constitution that's the state purview. You want the government to control the private economy, all right? And the government is going to create the jobs. How many times last night did he say, we're going to create the jobs? How many?
Yes. A million times if it were one.
I got 18.
Yeah.
The government doesn't create jobs. The private sector does. Does Biden know that? No. Now, the people behind Biden know it. The speechwriter knows it. So basically what Biden was telling the American people was, we don't really believe in this free marketplace anymore. We don't want capitalism.
Correct.
Because capitalism is based on white supremacy.
Let me take 1 minute break and make the case that Joe Biden knows exactly what he's doing. And just hear me out for a second, because I'd love to hear your response. We'll do that in 60 seconds. First, let me tell you about our sponsor this half hour. Our sponsor this half hour is Relief Factor. Millions of Americans have had the quality of their lives directly and dramatically changed by pain. I've met with members of this audience who have lived with pain for years. I have seen the tears of joy in their eyes that they never thought they would be able to have their life back. They never thought they would be able to ever experience another day without debilitating pain. It's been a miracle for so many people in this audience, and I can't tell you that it's going to work for you, but 70% of the people who try it just for 3 weeks, they see the differences and they go back and they order more than just the trial package because it works for them. Now, it doesn't work for about 30%, but just for $20 you can find out. Just try it. Just try it and see if it works for you. 800-500-8384. Get your life back. Get out of pain. ReliefFactor.com. ReliefFactor.com. 10-second station ID. Okay, Bill, let me rephrase or reset in your mind the way we're looking at Joe Biden. Joe Biden is part of the elite, and yes, he is diminished capacity. But this conversation has been happening for a long time before he had diminished capacity. When we started to do TARP, I know because I know people that were in that room. They were saying at the time, we have to violate the free market to save the free market, which didn't make any sense. But they started down this road, and they were looking for the exit strategy. It will come back to normal. It will come back to normal. We'll go back and we'll erase all that debt. Well, they tried. It didn't work. So what's the exit strategy? Then they started getting mixed up with, just money printing. The Fed printed $6 trillion and gave it to the banks just last year in the last 12 months. And so there's no way out. So what's the exit strategy? The exit strategy is, and you've heard this for years, China is the new model, more of an autocratic rule that the government makes a private-public partnership, and we begin to move in a different way, and we publicly invest. Now, at the same time, we know that all this money is going to cause inflation, but the dollar is the reserve currency. That writing has been on the wall for quite some time. So as part of this great reset is a great financial reset. But you can't reset the dollar unless the dollar is completely decimated. So go ahead, give it the juice, and we'll put the structure in for it to collapse in. I think he knows exactly what he's doing.
I don't think he could have understood what you just said. All right, so we just have a gentleman's disagreement.
Okay.
So if you look at Joe Biden's history, he's always been a party guy. Never been an innovative guy, never been a creative guy. Plagiarism all over the place in his resume, as you know. All right?
Yes.
He's a party guy. They used to call him party hacks. I don't want to be disrespectful. But that's what he is. He's always done what he's told to do. Now the progressives run the party. Everybody knows that. There are very few even moderate Democrats.
Yeah, I don't think they're even progressives
Biden is doing
anymore.
What he is told to do. Does he understand what inflation is? How much money the Treasury printed just to fight COVID? No. I talked to Newt Gingrich yesterday. He was kind enough to have me on his podcast to talk about killing the mob. And we talked a little bit about politics before we got to the book. And I said to the speaker, who's a very smart guy, you may not like him. He's not a good predictor. I mean, he said Trump is going to win in a landslide. I went, which Trump are we talking about? Ivanka? Because I knew that there was going to be not a good thing. It's certainly not a landslide. But anyway, Gingrich said to me, the danger here is inflation, not that the economy is going to collapse overnight because we're going to have consumer spending, which is going to be robust after COVID. But
it will be a melt up. It will be a just rapid rise and then a crash.
Right, but you can see it now in the price of gas. Gas is way up. Groceries.
Plywood.
I went to a restaurant today. They wanted $55 for a steak. I said, are you going to give me a couple of tires for my car with that? I mean, $55? So this is what's happening. But Biden doesn't understand that. He doesn't live in the real world. All right, he's always been a marginal intellect. Always.
Okay.
And now he's in charge, and that's frightening.
When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about his proposals and what they mean for unions and what they mean for you. Also, we'll talk a little bit about his new book, Killing the Mob, which you can order now, comes out next week.
This is the Glenn Beck Program.
I am not making this up. If the Joe Biden administration has their way, you will be allowed one hamburger a month. That's it. And I'm not making that up. One hamburger. It is only a certain amount of meat for every American. That's to fight global warming. I think this is the way the Civil War started. It was slavery, and wait a minute. What's happening to meat? If you are getting only one hamburger a month, you better make sure that's one damn good hamburger. And the way to grill that is with a RecTech. RecTech can smoke it, it can bake it, it can grill it, it will make anything. It is the grill of grills. This was designed and developed by grillers, the people who take it on the back of their truck and go around for all the grilling competitions. That's who designed this thing. It's built like a tank. It is fantastic, and it is competitively priced, and it shouldn't be, but it is because they cut out the middleman. I want you to A/B compare against whatever you can find on the market. Make sure you look at RecTech, RecTeq.com. We're with Bill O'Reilly and BillO'Reilly.com. We're going to talk about his new book that comes out next week, early next week. You can pre-order it now at BillO'Reilly.com or wherever you get your books. It is called Killing the Mob. It is excellent. I think it's his best yet. Make sure that you pick up a copy. BillO'Reilly.com, Killing the Mob. Bill, yesterday when President Biden gave his speech, he started with the white supremacists, and the attack on the Capitol by white supremacists is the most lethal threat. He said that at the beginning. He said that at the end of his speech. We all know that is not true. I mean, did he forget the 88 bombing of the Senate? I mean, this is ridiculous. This is the biggest threat to our democracy since the Civil War. It was insanity to say that. He is saying things...
Right.
Go ahead.
That just backs up my contention. He doesn't know what he's saying. That he just... Look, the progressive left...
Okay, wait. Somebody does, then.
Yeah.
Somebody does. Let's say he doesn't, but somebody does. But now, wait a minute. They're saying things that are so out of step with the American people. If you look at what these policies... And I'm not saying that they're coming. I'm saying they are already here. In 2 years, police and crime off the charts as police leave more and more.
Sure,
schools are out of control.
Infrastructure.
Correct.
They're destroying the infrastructure of law enforcement.
Okay, hang on just a second.
That's what they want to do.
Hang on. I know. So help me out on strategy here. Crime and police out of control. Schools with critical race out of control. People not working because they're living off the government. The spending of government, if the Fed even thinks about raising interest rates, the whole thing falls apart. Inflation is now not a matter of if or when. It's already here. Beside the corruption of the voting system in H.R. 1, court packing, et cetera, what is their plan for 2 years down the road? Because if things were normal, they'd have their heads handed to them in 2022.
But they're not normal because there's no free press in America anymore. And that's the tipping point. So once the corporate media threw in with the progressive left, the flow of honest information stopped. So you and I have both worked in corporate media. We know how corrupt it is, Beck, do we not?
Yes, yes, we do.
And we both started our own independent news agencies so that we could provide honest information that is not going to be provided by the giant corporations like AT&T and Comcast and Disney. They're not going to do it. Once they allied with the Democratic Party and the progressive left, which they obviously have, then the American people were left bereft of any kind of perspective on what's happening. So if you step back, I love that step back phrase, and you look at what the Biden administration wants to do, it wants to control policing. There's a bill that was just passed in the House that the federal government is going to tell the local and state police what to do. And if you don't do it, you're not going to get the money.
That is a federal police force. It is absolutely unconstitutional, and it is the last step to autocracy.
Okay, so that's number one. Then they want to control public education. You must teach critical race theory or you're not going to get the block grants, just like the police. Then they want to control, this is the progressive left Biden administration, the election process. That's what the H.R. 1 bill is. You will accept every ballot that comes in. I don't care whether it has a name on it. Somebody could have done it in crayon. You're accepting it. And they can vote no matter what. You want to vote a week after? You go right ahead. So those are the big three. And then, of course, the humongous one that we saw last night is the government controls the private economy. The government creates the jobs. You add it all up, and you have a socialist system.
Yeah, I don't think that goes strong enough because most people don't understand that. They
That's
think
true.
that's a nice word. It is an autocratic system. It is China. When you have,
it's not China, but there's a difference. So don't overstate it because then people walk away. Look, in China,
how is that overstating it?
I'll tell you. In China, if you don't do what you say, they punish you physically. All right?
Okay, this will be punishing financially for a time.
They're going to punish financially, no doubt. All the achievers in America are going to be punished, and the evil corporations. But the evil corporations are going to pass all the extra tax they have to pay onto the folks. But the folks don't understand. They should. They put gas in their car. They know they're paying 80 cents a gallon more than they were before Biden was inaugurated. They should. But then Biden overwhelms them with the razzle-dazzle of, hey, we're going to pay for everything. Healthcare, we're picking it up. All right, don't worry about those premiums. Those healthcare premiums, you're going to get it. Hey, how about family leave? 5 weeks. You're still a small business owner? How are you going to replace somebody for 5 weeks? How? I'm a small business owner. If I lose my key staff members on family leave for 5 weeks, what do I do? Okay, so this is basically a blanket control of everything. And the media doesn't have to be controlled by the progressive left because they're already in. Look at them. Just name them down. All the people on ABC, CBS, and NBC. They're all in the tank. Is there one of them not in the tank? Look what happened to 60 Minutes, which was the finest journalistic enterprise on television in the world. Look what happened to it. They went down and did a hatchet job on the governor of Florida and couldn't defend it. It's over. So now the American people are going to have to fend for themselves. But as you pointed out, a lot of people just don't know what's happening because they're addicted to their devices. They spend their whole life on the machines. They don't know what's happening in the real world. And that's what the progressive left counts on, that and racial and gender division. All right?
See,
if you oppose us, you're a racist.
It's nice to say that, and maybe it would be kind and gentle, not with a boot, just with a nudge. But once you go to the next administration with a system like this, you eventually do get a bullet to the head. It happens that way every single time. So, you can only do so much, and then people, the better angels among us, we wouldn't need laws if the better angels among us rose to the top on control and government. There was a story yesterday that came out that said the lies of the right and the misinformation spread so fast that they can never be corrected, and we must do something.
That's right.
That's you and me, Bill.
Well, we've already been hammered. I mean, we've already been hammered. I mean, they got me 4 years ago. And look, everybody knows that game. The real turning point in this country is going to be the 2020 midterms. If the American people don't see this and don't vote out the progressives in the House and the Senate, then we're on our way to Sweden on steroids. That's what it's going to be. Central government's going to control what we do, how much we have.
I would live in Sweden. Sweden, the people of Sweden are saying, look at what you're doing. That's not what we do. I mean, I've seen the documentaries from Sweden saying, no, that's not what we do. I would live in Sweden over what's coming in a heartbeat. I wish it were just as bad as Sweden. Yeah, I know they don't.
The Swedish
they would help me move.
doesn't want you.
I know. Okay, let's talk a little bit about your book, Killing the Mob. Comes out next week.
It's out next week, and the overarch on this book is organized crime in America was the most powerful institution from the late 1940s until 1962. There was
wait a minute,
no
that's about the that's at the same time that the labor unions were finding the zenith of their power.
The labor unions back.
Oh wait, the mob? Shut up!
Yeah. So from 1949 until 1962, the organized crime was more powerful than the House of Representatives, more powerful than the Senate, more powerful than any governor, and you could make an argument they were more powerful than Eisenhower and Truman. You can make an argument, okay? Now, how did they get that power? Well, it began in World War II. Did you know that the mob helped George Patton invade Europe? I bet you didn't. Did you know that the mob controlled the film industry in Hollywood? Bet you didn't. Did you know they controlled the early rock industry? All right, in the 50s? Bet you didn't. Did you know that they controlled commerce through the Teamsters unions in America? What came in, what came out, how much it cost? Did you know? Bet you didn't.
What was the thing that stopped them, Bill? How did we break that? Bobby
Kennedy stopped them. And he's a hero. Whether you like the Kennedys or not,
Bobby is
Killing the Mob, and this man, he was the only one. J. Edgar Hoover.
Yeah.
That's why I begin in the 30s with John Dillinger, Bonnie and Clyde, Babyface Nelson, because that's when the FBI started. Because these guys were so bad, these bank robbers, and they were going from state to state, and the state authorities couldn't control them. So that they formed the FBI. Young J. Edgar Hoover got the job. He and the FBI annihilated all of these gangsters. They annihilated them. It wasn't like, hey, you want to surrender? No. They saw him, they killed him. And so we got Al Capone, and then World War II happened. And then the mob made a deal with the U.S. government to help in the invasion of Europe. In return, mobsters from Sicily got free passage into the USA in 1946, and they came over in waves, and they took over all the unions, okay? And they took over Cuba, and they built Vegas, and they were everywhere. Now, nobody knows any of this, and Hoover did nothing. Why? We can't prove it, but we do put in the book accusations and allegations that the mob had stuff on Hoover. Gambling stuff and homosexual stuff. All right? I can't prove that, and I say that clearly. But J. Edgar Hoover, it is a fact, did nothing. Nothing. There was no federal agency investigating organized crime other than Treasury. That's Eliot Ness, Al Capone. Okay?
Yep.
For all of those years, until Bobby Kennedy became the Attorney General, he single-handedly dismantled much of the mob's power. However, today, organized crime is still very powerful.
And it's really amazing that it was Bobby Kennedy, seeing that his father was really in with the mob.
We get into that. I talked to the Kennedy family extensively about this. Bobby Kennedy was the last Kennedy son, the smallest physically. He was ignored by his father.
Let's get into this early next week. Maybe I'll have you on a couple of times next week.
Great.
And we can talk to you about your new book. Killing the Mob, it's a great book by Bill O'Reilly. You can get it now, pre-order it. It comes out next week. When you pre-order, it's basically going to be shipped to you right away. And you can get it from BillO'Reilly.com or wherever you buy your books. Bill, thank you so much. We'll talk to you again next week.
Thanks. I appreciate it, Beck. Bye.
You bet. These days, cyber criminals are doing amazing things, like taking over your phone account by tricking your phone company into assigning your online bank accounts or your phone number to a new SIM card. That way, they have basically assigned your bank account, your credit cards, and everything else over to the cyber criminal. You almost admire these people if they were such dirtbags. I mean, there's nothing you can use your skill for that would be good for society. It's amazing to me. It's important to understand how cybercrime and identity affect all of our lives. When they steal your identity, it can crush you. I have had LifeLock for a long, long time. They have saved my family from a few things. And if we've ever had any problems, they've been there to help clean it up. And that's really the difference with LifeLock. Not only, I think, are they the best in the business, I mean, they're the ones who really created this category back in the 90s. And they also have a team that is just there to help clean anything up that they might have missed or you might have missed. It's LifeLock. So call LifeLock now at 1-800-LifeLock. Tell them that I sent you, and you'll save 25% off your first year. 1-800-LifeLock. 1-800-LifeLock. Make sure you use the promo code Beck. Or you can use that promo code Beck at LifeLock.com. LifeLock.com or 1-800-LifeLock, promo code Beck. I have to tell you, Bill and I see the speech quite differently. And I think it's just because I've been studying this and I feel like I know what was coming our way and has been planned for quite some time. And you're seeing last night as a cornerstone speech for the last moves on the chessboard. If you see what they've done, just in the speech last night, they're talking about, they already control education. But have you noticed that they gave, the schools asked for $25 billion for COVID. I think they gave them $50 or $80 billion on the first round, and then $125 billion. For what? They asked for 25. Now he's not only empowering them through money and making the unions stronger there, he's also saying, oh, and we're going to indoctrinate your kids for another 4 years, starting at the age of 3. There is control everywhere. The federalizing of the police, the control of the election, the control and cleansing of the military, the cleansing of the media, the empowerment of the IRS, and the corruption of the FBI. Can you see the cage that they're building?
It's the Glenn Beck Program.
Hey there, welcome back to the 4-Minute Buzz. I'm Hillary, and here is some good news for your morning. Sometimes kids do these strangest things that warm all of our hearts, and recently Mississippi mom Amy Watford took all 6 of her kids out for Mexican food at a local restaurant. But her young son Brecken wouldn't stop crying. Apparently, he really wanted to eat his meal with a stranger that was sitting nearby. So eventually Watford decided to let the man eat in peace and take her son out to her car until he calmed down. But when they passed by the stranger's table, he surprisingly offered to let Brecken sit down, and just like that, he stopped crying. Watford watched in amazement as her son acted as if he had known this man his whole life. He and the stranger, whose name is Darius West, just sat there eating chips and salsa and chatting until Brecken was ready to go. Watford took a photo of the moment and she shared it on Facebook, where it quickly went viral, and she said, quote, "It's the small things. He didn't have to do what he did, but it completely made Brecken's whole day." And clearly their story has since made the days of strangers around the country. It is really amazing how far a little kindness goes. Now here's some more of today's top stories. Last night, President Biden delivered his first joint address to Congress, and he covered a lot. In the hour-long speech, Biden listed his alleged accomplishments from his first 100 days as president and laid out a massive plan for where he hopes to go next. One of the main messages of his speech was that America must, quote, build back better from the coronavirus era. And in order to do so, he laid out several massive proposals, including rebuilding our electric grid to be, quote, fully clean, raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour, and revamping the production of American goods. Biden also introduced his $1.8 trillion American Families Plan. This plan would further help transform our economy by providing affordable child care, including free preschool for 3- and 4-year-old children. Now, Biden argued that this would help our school system compete with the rest of the world. And Biden also touted his plan to finally take our troops out of Afghanistan, arguing that global terror networks have moved elsewhere. But he also claimed that the, quote, most lethal terrorist threat to our homeland is domestic.
White supremacy is terrorism. We're not going to ignore that either. My fellow Americans, look, we have to come together to heal the soul of this nation. It was nearly a year ago before her father's funeral when I spoke with Gianna Floyd, George Floyd's young daughter. She's a little tyke, so I was kneeling down to talk to her so I could look her in the eye. She looked at me, she said, "My daddy changed the world." Well, after the conviction of George Floyd's murderer, we can see how right she was if we have the courage to act as a Congress. We've all seen the knee of injustice on the neck of black Americans. Now's our opportunity to make some real progress. The vast majority of men and women wearing a uniform and a badge serve our communities, and they serve them honorably.
And in more news, yesterday federal agents raided the apartment of former President Trump's personal lawyer, Rudy Giuliani. The raid was part of an investigation into his alleged overseas lobbying efforts for Trump in Ukraine. Search warrants were obtained, and the agents seized multiple electronic devices from the property. Many in the media characterize this as a major turning point in the investigation, but others, including Giuliani, believe the raid was just meant to make him look bad. I'm Hillary. That's your 4-Minute Buzz. Now here's Glenn and Stu with one more hour of the show.
So, welcome to the program. We have Stephen Moore on next. We're going to talk a little bit about the president's speech last night and the spending in particular, and the vast control, child care and daycare. What the president didn't outline is those are union jobs. Those are union jobs. So you now have your kids being cared for by a union. And we all know that kids come first when the unions are involved. Right, Stu?
Yeah, they usually get thrown overboard first in the Gulf when they kill the family. It's not women and children first, it's unions first. But usually they throw the kids off first to make the family feel the fear and terror of seeing their kids die. Then they throw the parents in. It's typically the way they do it. So
I want to talk to him about his specific talking points, the control, the command and control of the economy that he is proposing, and the kind of inflation and sugar rush that we're going to have here shortly.
I haven't even asked you today. So, did you like the speech overall? Were you?
I thought it was fantastic. It was electric. It was electric. 2 thumbs up. 3 even.
What you are about to hear is the fusion of entertainment and enlightenment. This is the Glenn Beck Program.
So a very dear friend of mine, Stephen Moore, who I've known for a long time when he was just, I think, the senior editor at the Wall Street Journal, he's involved in a little bit of everything. Senior economic contributor for FreedomWorks. He helped work with Trump. He has worked with Bush. He has been instrumental. He's kind of, cut from the Art Laffer cloth, if you will. He's just co-founded Committee to Unleash Prosperity, and I was reading about it, and I want to give you their steps to prosperity. See what you think. 1, this is what they advocate: a broad-based, low-tax, flat tax. Okay. Limited government spending. Got it. Light regulation. Sound money, free trade, and rule of constitutional law. All of those were violated in last night's speech. We're going to get his take on the speech and what it means for America economically in 60 seconds.
The Glenn Beck Program.
And now, for your listening pleasure, here are some useless things. Late night television in Joe Biden's room. Diet water, pet rocks, and car warranties the day after they expire. That's the day you know something is going to go haywire for sure, and probably one of those stupid computer chips that are going to skyrocket in price. I had a computer chip go in my car. It was like $3,000. if I could even get one. Did you see that Ford is saying that the next quarter they don't know how many trucks they're going to be able to make because of the computer chip shortage? If one of those things goes wrong, you might not be able to drive your car for a while because they may not be able to get the part. Okay, so what do you do? Well, if you have CarShield, you're probably not going to have to worry about it, because if it's a covered repair, you're going to get a rental car while yours is in the shop. And you don't have to foot the bill and then wait for CarShield to come pay you back. They deal with everything directly. It is really a great service. If your car has expired warranty, may I highly suggest you get CarShield. They have saved me several times on my old trucks. It's CarShield at carshield.com. Go there now, carshield.com. Use the promo code Beck, and you're going to save 10%. It's carshield.com. Promo code Beck. A deductible may apply. Stephen Moore, the co-founder of the Committee to Unleash Prosperity, and it's a great thing that you're doing, Stephen. And as I'm looking at all of the things you're saying, that's what we have to do. The exact opposite in every category. The exact opposite was suggested last night.
Glenn, I don't know if I should laugh or cry. I mean, you were right. I mean, we're for sound money. We don't have sound money. We're for limited government. We don't have limited government. Flat tax. No, they want to raise taxes 40, 50, 60% rates, and on down the line. You know, I called the speech last night tax, spend, and snooze because I have to confess I did fall asleep halfway through the speech. Let's just say it wasn't scintillating, right?
No, it was incredibly, and I think that's one of the good things if you're a progressive or a Marxist, or somebody that's for the Great Reset. He is so boring. It makes it sound like nothing is happening, but that was an incredibly important speech if you know what you were looking for. That's fundamental transformation of America complete. Am I overstating that?
No, you're not. This is transformational. It is. I calculated about $5 to $6 trillion of additional spending. By the way, folks, that's trillion. Our buddy Larry Kudlow asked me the other day on his TV show, Steve, what comes after a trillion? I said, I don't know, gazillion. I mean, when I first came to Washington 30 years ago, I've been doing this a long time. I've known you for a long time, Glenn. We used to talk about the budget in the millions and billions, and now we talk about it in the billions of trillions. And the numbers get so big, we become anesthetized to how lunatic this is. If I were advising Biden, the way Larry and others advised Trump, I would have said, hey, let's cut spend. We got to get government out of the way here. Let's cut. Yes. We should be cutting government spending right now, not increasing government spending. We're looking at, a debt that is larger than the amount of money we borrowed to finance the Revolutionary War, the Civil War, World War I, World War II, and the Cold War. In 1 year, that's how much we're going to borrow? I mean, folks, this is insane. This is a prescription for national bankruptcy. I like what the Wall Street Journal said in its lead editorial this morning, which is cradle to grave government. And, Glenn, I'm here to submit to you that's not America.
It's not. However, this has happened so quickly. We have spent $19 trillion. If this passes, $19 to $20 trillion in the last 12 months. That's including the Fed bailouts that nobody ever talks about.
Right.
Stephen, that is. We are going to please help me out on this because I am a limited mind, as you know. So please tell me where I'm wrong. We are going to have a boom. I think we're already seeing it in some regards. The economy is coming back because there's $19 trillion that has been pumped into the system. That's almost half of all the money on the entire planet. And we've just dropped that into the system. But we're also seeing inflation, which everyone is saying we're not. Have you bought meat? Have you bought milk? Have you bought plywood?
I just spent $56 filling up the tank. And it used to cost me about $37. I mean, we have seen more than $1 increase in many markets in the gasoline prices, which is something almost every family has to spend. It's one of the major budget items. So we are seeing that happening. And I just don't think the American people want this. I don't think this is what people signed up for. I really don't. I mean, look, if you tell the American people, I'm going to give you something for free. I mean, we're Americans. We love free things, right? But the idea, you're going to have free childcare, free daycare, free healthcare, free social, free this, free college, free junior college, free. I mean, come on. We're going to run out. We're going to bankrupt our country. And Glenn, the question I ask you and your audience is, what happens when the Chinese stop buying our bonds?
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
Then where are we going to get the money?
Well, we're already, this, Stephen. The Fed has been the biggest buyer of our bonds. The Fed just buys them. They're just printing the money.
That's the technical term for that, and you're right, is called monetizing the debt. That's what Argentina, Bolivia, Mexico, Zimbabwe do.
Right.
And I hate to tell you, folks, that story does not have a happy ending.
So, Stephen, how fast do you think this sugar rush is going to come up and then come crashing down? How much time do we have before real inflation is so apparent everybody is crushed by it?
Well, Biden's the luckiest guy, maybe in America, for he took over, I loved how he was taking credit for all the amazing things he's done for the first 100 days. We've seen the economy. Well, come on. I mean, and by the way, I have to just get this off my chest, having worked for Trump. I don't care if you love Trump or hate Trump. Ladies and gentlemen, Operation Warp Speed was not mentioned one time by Joe Biden. Not once. I mean, what a classless act, frankly. Yeah. I mean, and it would have been in Biden's own, political self-interest to basically say, thank you, Donald Trump, for Operation Warp. But they don't have it in them. They hate Trump so much, they can't even say thank you. And I think 90% of Americans realize that this was Trump that gave us a vaccine 1 or 2 years ahead of schedule, and not because of more government, because he got government out of the way.
Yep. Okay, so as I'm looking at this, I see unions growth, this massive expansion of unions, a partnership, a public-private partnership. I mean, if you watch his statements before the speech where he was talking to a group of reporters and anchors, he was talking about, the question is whether a democracy like ours can survive against an autocratic nation like China. And, we have to really kind of prove that out. Well, no, we don't. We've already decided that. But I think that's where we're being led, is into this Chinese kind of style government where everything is controlled, from the police to the financial system to a partnership with these corporations. I see a very different future, Stephen.
So let me give you an example of what you're talking about. One of the things I find kind of chilling is there was a large part of that speech that I listened to before I fell asleep, and that had to do with child care and daycare. And by the way, we used to call this babysitting, right? My first job was $1 an hour babysitting for kids when the parents were gone. And by the way, how did women ever survive in the workforce before Joe Biden came along on his white horse? I mean, if you listen to him last night, you're like, women can't work anymore because they don't have, daycare and child care. They want their view of things, and I'm not exaggerating here, Glenn. You tell me if you think I'm wrong. They're saying, look, the problem in America is these 2 and 3 and 4, 5-year-olds. We've got to get them out of the hands of the unprofessionals. I mean, mothers and fathers can't take care of kids. We've got to get them into the hands of the government. The same people who've done such an incredible job with our 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15-year-olds. The problem is we haven't gotten them soon enough. I mean, this is really the way these people think.
Yes. And it's really all about control. I mean, please tell me that I'm wrong. The Great Reset, as proposed by the World Economic Forum, everybody says that's not going to happen. It's conspiracy theory. Well, the framework just passed in the EU and is going for a parliament vote in the EU. Whether it passes or not, I don't know. But that structure is exactly what he was talking about last night, that there will be penalties if you don't play along, if you don't do the things that the government says you got to do, because we're all in this together. That is coming, right? Stephen?
You've been on this story a long time, Glenn, and I used to kind of even, I say, well, Glenn's a little way out there, with the, they want global government. But the fact is, that's exactly what they want. They want a global tax system. They have this global minimum tax. They want the United Nations and these international organizations to dictate our climate policy, our economic policy, our tax policy. And Biden does not put America first. He does. They reject the idea of American exceptionalism. I am really, really insulted by this, and so disappointed that we have a president of the United States who said that the United States is a systemically racist country. I mean, what a slur against this country. I mean, you expect maybe the Chinese or the Russians to say that about us, not our own president. And so, I would have said 6 months ago, no, this stuff isn't going to happen. No, this is America. But it is happening. This is a defining moment for the country, and I pray that the American people reject this.
So the problem is, I go back to what you felt, because for the first time, I actually had to stop myself. My instinct, about 40 minutes into it, I was sitting on the set, and I almost said to my executive producer, let's cut away from this. Let's just start talking about it, because it was so colossally boring that I'm not sure Americans will hear and understand what he was proposing last night. It was, it's a blessing for the left that he is just so colossally boring and old. And he says enough stuff. It was the most schizophrenic speech I've ever heard. America is systematically racist, but we're the greatest country in the world. Well, wait a minute. Yeah. You can't be both. Which is it? Which is it?
By the way, the highlight of the evening, actually, I have to say, Tim Scott did a really fantastic job. I mean, it's a tough job to give the rejoinder speech, and I thought that was one of the best I've seen. And he just basically laid it out. Look, we are a flawed country. We're human beings. We're flawed, right? But this is the greatest country on earth, and we are not systemically. By the way, do you know, Glenn, what ethnic group has the highest income in the United States?
Asians.
Yes, Asians. But wait a minute, Glenn, how can that be? Most Asians have brown skins. I thought we were a racist country that hated blacks and yellows and reds and browns. Asians
but they've No. They've bought into the white systematic racism that merit matters. And so they're just playing the same white system.
Right. Well, they've done a good job of it, because the average Asian household comes here, and most Asians have only been here for one generation or so, have a median income of $100,000. By the way, Hispanics have made incredible economic progress in this country over the last 20 years, according to the latest census data. The only group that tragically is not making great economic gains has been Black Americans. Why? Because they have lousy schools, because they don't have unsafe streets. They have communities that are in big trouble. As Trump would say, what do you have to lose with these? Why do you keep electing these people that give you lousy schools, unsafe streets, a corrupt government, on and on and on? And it tells you a lot, though, that we are not making. It is absolutely true. We're not making enough progress with Black Americans, but they are not being because they have a system of Look, I come from Chicago. Who's run Chicago for the last 75 years? Democrats.
Right. Right. Let me take a 1 minute break.
They're going to save our country, though. They're going to save our country. The same people. What states are bankrupt? California, New York, Connecticut, New Jersey. I just got back from Florida. Florida's completely wide open. It's back to normal, basically, in Florida. And meanwhile, you've got these blue states that have high unemployment, huge numbers of job losses, small businesses shut down. And the other thing, I could go on and on. But we've got a big problem right now because of the massive welfare state and all these unemployment benefits. The biggest problem right now is most small businesses can't get their workers back.
Which is another contributing factor to inflation, is it not?
Of course.
You have to raise the price, but you also can't make the things that people are demanding because you don't have the workers.
Yeah, and now the liberals say, oh, well, that means they're just going to have to raise the wages. These people have never run a small business. It would be so wonderful or so easy. We could just raise our costs and raise our prices. That's not the way a small business works. Small businesses have these tiny, small margins of profit, and you increase their price, they can't raise. They're going to go out of business. So we're doing real damage. And 65% of the jobs in this country, Glenn, come from small businesses, and they're the victims of a lot of this.
Okay, hang on just a second. If you have time, can you stay with me for just a couple more minutes?
Yeah, I mean, I'm angry about that. You can tell I'm a little angry.
Okay, all right, okay. Hang on just a sec for 60 seconds, and I'll be back with Stephen Moore. First, let me tell you about Patriot Mobile. If you're tired of giving an arm and a leg every month to your cell phone provider, just have them turn around and donate some of your money to leftist causes. Switch. It is time to get away from these big corporations that are working against you. Switch today. Bring your own phone. You'll get 50% off your first 2 months, plus a free Patriot starter kit. While you're there, enter to win a free phone and cellular service for the rest of your life. All the details you can find at patriotmobile.com. They have the broadest nationwide coverage. They use the same cell towers as all the major carriers, so you're getting the same great service. Plus, they have plans that fit any budget, including multi-line discounts. Switching is easy, and you're going to save a lot, and you're also doing business with people who are working for the values and principles, not against the ones that you believe. Switch now. Tell Big Mobile, can you hear us now? Call them at 972-PATRIOT. 972-PATRIOT. Please switch now. PatriotMobile.com/Beck. 10-second station ID. So Stephen Moore is with us. Stephen, I just saw a poll today that the era of big government is back. More people believe in big government than small government. I don't. The scientific theory is dead, if that's true. Are you watching what's happening to our country and our world? How are we fighting this, Stephen?
I haven't seen that poll that you just cited, but I just saw a poll, I think it was the ABC Washington Post poll, that found still a majority of Americans, when they were asked, do you want more government and higher taxes or less government and lower taxes, a majority want less government. Now, that might be an outlier poll that you're looking at, because it's been pretty consistent for the last 40 years. People, when you ask them, do you want higher and higher taxes and more government, people generally say no to this. And if we lose that, then we're in big trouble. You asked me about the unionization of all of these jobs. I think one of the most chilling things that we're not talking about enough, something that we as free market conservatives have to throw our bodies in front of this train, is Biden talked about this what do they call it, the PRO Act, and this is the union bill. And I don't think enough people know this. There are 27 states in the United States, most of the states in the South, many of the Midwestern and mountain states, that are right-to-work states. And right-to-work means you cannot be commanded by the government to join a union. It doesn't say you can't have a union. It just says you can't force people against their will to join a union. The Biden plan, folks, pay attention. The Biden plan would basically outlaw right-to-work laws in 27 states. That would mean overnight, Vlad, you want to talk about a transformation. Overnight, tens of millions of American workers, against their will, would be forced to join unions and pay union dues.
Well, I find it interesting that he says, Americans are for all these things. No, they're not. That's why so many states are coming up with their own laws to shore up their own election rules, to shore up their own rights. And I hope that they're shoring up their right-to-work laws. Are they?
They better. Yeah. Okay. But Glenn, look what happened. What was it, 2 weeks ago in Bessemer, Alabama, where, remember, everybody in the media, everybody said, oh my gosh, all of these warehouse workers, there's 6,000 of them, they are going to join the union, Amazon, Amazon.
They didn't.
And everybody said they were going to. You know what? They didn't ask the workers, and they had the election. And you know what percentage of people voted to join the union? 29%.
Stephen Moore, thank you so much. Back in just a minute. Let me tell you about our sponsor this half hour. It's Real Estate Agents I Trust. Look, I don't know if you heard this in the speech, but I can tell you right now, your home is going to be harder and harder to sell unless you get the approval from the government that your house is green and has, all of the things that are updated. And I'm telling you, it is coming. Now is the time to sell your house. Now is the time to buy your house. If you're planning on living at your house for a long, long time, then you're fine. But please don't get too much of a house because trouble is coming. If you want to sell your house, right now is the time. You can call realestateagentsitrust.com and we'll help you find a real estate agent that can help you move that quickly and get into a new house at the right price, also quickly and with the least amount of hassle. It's realestateagentsitrust.com. It's a free service to you. We'll find the right real estate agent in your area. It's realestateagentsitrust.com. This is the Glenn Beck Program. Welcome to Thursday. If you missed any part of the program today, Bill O'Reilly was on with us. Thomas Massey, Stephen Moore was just on. Bill O'Reilly. We talked about the speech last night, and it was a colossally boring speech. But please, if you listen to anything today on the speech, grab our podcast and listen just to the first 20 minutes if that's all that you have time for. It is critical that you understand. I view things differently. I view things, Stu and I were talking, this no offense to Bill O'Reilly, but Bill is incapable, really, I think, of seeing over the horizon on many things. He deals with today, usually. He deals with the things. I mean, he's good at what he does. His skill is different than mine. My skill, strangely, is being able to see over the horizon at puzzle pieces that everybody say don't go together, but they do. And that speech last night was the last few puzzle pieces to be put in. That was the last few moves on a chessboard that was started by Woodrow Wilson. And that was the warning that we are going to fundamentally transform soon. And I explained it in the first 20 minutes, and it's vital that you understand. Because you need to prepare for impact. And impact is going to be tough. And the first thing you're going to see is the devaluation of all of your money in your bank account. You're going to start losing money because of inflation. So, you keep your money in your bank account and you're going to lose, you could lose up to 48 cents in the next couple of years on every dollar that you have, because prices are going to go up so high and the value of the dollar is going to continue to go down. Please prepare yourself for that. Also, tomorrow we're going to start talking to you about some of the things that people are doing against critical race theory. There are some communities that are really standing up and making a difference. Now, I can't remember where the city was. I read the story tomorrow. We'll have it for you, or read it yesterday. I read it this morning. We'll have it for you tomorrow. It is a story about a school district where the inner texts between the school district and the Education Board of Education were going back and forth on, look, invent a fake curriculum that you can give to the parents. Because we got to get them off this thing because they're not changing. And so you're up against a lot of things, and we'll bring you up to speed on that. It's also really important to do business with good people right now. Do business with people that are in the same boat and mindset that you are. And it's going to get harder and harder to do that. But we have to reward the companies that are doing the right thing, even if it has nothing to do with politics. I want to give you one example. We're doing renovations to our house. What a colossal mistake. Don't live in it even if it's falling down around you. Just don't start a project. But anyway, we started this project, I don't even know, 8 months ago or so. Last summer is when we started it. And gosh, it's been almost a year. And we ordered our floors, the hardwood floors, forever ago. And we were dealing with this company because they're the only ones that make this kind of wood anymore, because it's pecan wood, which is big in Texas, or was, and now they don't I don't know if we don't have pecan trees or we don't cut them down. I don't know why. It's been a pain in my ass. And so we only could find one group of people that made this kind of wood anymore. And we were delayed by 12 weeks, and then it was another 4 weeks, and then and we called them every day. You're on track, right? You're on track. After about 20 weeks, we finally called them, and they said, yeah, we don't have any. We're like, what? And so I had the contractor call the people that was representing, they were the ones who turned us onto it and said, what are you doing? You're a credible company. What are you doing? You've just set us back 20 weeks, and now we have to start all over again. They didn't even know who I was. We had the contractor call. These guys, I listened on the phone to these phone calls, and they were like, we are so sorry. We can't vouch for them. I'm sorry that we ever did. We thought we made it clear that they're not people we usually do business with, but that's the only one we could find. We will make this right. They said they would have it in 3 weeks. Impossible. 3 weeks to the day, yesterday, it was delivered to my house. And what's really sad is, at least I kind of find it sad. By the way, the company is Trinity Hardwood Distributors. But I thought what was really sad was I called Phil Robertson. He was the guy on the phone that I listened to. And I said, Phil, this is Glenn Beck, and I'm the guy you delivered the hardwood to. And he said, oh. And I said, I just want you to know, integrity means everything to me. And I was so upset, not because we had to wait, but because the integrity was just nowhere to be found. And you had to come in and say, I'm going to make this right. And there's no chance of you making that right. And you have no record. There's no reason for me to even believe you. And yet you did. And I just wanted to thank him for that. And I swear to you, what was sad to me was it was like nobody does that. It felt, at least, it may not have been his intent, but it felt to me like, wow, nobody does that. They raise hell, but they never call and say thank you when you meet the expectations or go beyond them. And I think it's so critical that we reward the people who are living the right life. So I can't recommend, if you're in the Dallas or Texas area, Trinity Hardwood Distributors. I think they're the biggest hardwood place in Texas. I'm not sure, but thank you, Phil, and your team for doing exactly what it's weird that you have to say thank you for doing what you said, but unfortunately you do. Something else that I want to bring up. Stu, I've been thinking about this for a long time. I know we're not going to make a dime from them, and that's fine and everything. I want to make Hank's our official soda of this program.
Oh, yeah. Hank's is awesome. Hank's
root beer, it's unbelievable. Do you even know if it's out in the whole country? Can you get Hank's in the whole country yet?
I don't know if you can get it in the whole country. It's definitely in...
You can order it.
It's a Philly brand. Yeah. But you can get it all over the country ordering it. And I know it's in Texas and some areas in the South. But yeah, it's definitely growing pretty quickly.
Hank's is really good. I want to make them the official, and cut something that says the official soft drink of the Glenn Beck program. Hank's, would you have that done? I want to give them free advertising. Anything I can do to get people out of the clutches of Coca-Cola, I'm into. Also, we should mention Coinbase.
Yeah.
Coinbase is remarkable. They have every reason to play into this new ESG and the government and do all these. They have every reason to do that because the government is going to come after cryptocurrency and places like Coinbase if you don't play ball. And Coinbase has refused to play ball. Not that they are making a statement one way or the other. They're just saying that's none of our business. We are a coin base. We are like we help people with cryptocurrency. That's it. That's what we do. That's all we're going to talk to you about.
Yeah. And
amen.
They said we'll talk about political issues as they relate to cryptocurrency, but this is not the place to organize your rallies or whatever. Like, it's just not what we do here. You're free to do it, of course, on your own, but like that's not what we do here. We work on this. We want the mission to be central. There's a new company, another one has gone down this road as well, Basecamp. They're a software maker.
Right.
And they said they will no longer publicly engage in societal and political discussions, and that employees are urged to take the conversations with willing coworkers to Signal, WhatsApp, or even a personal Basecamp account, but it can't happen where the work happens anymore. Because they were getting so sidetracked from their actual, company.
And they said they couldn't even work with each other because everybody was arguing, and people were saying, well, I don't know if I should say this because I don't know if I'm on the right side or the wrong side, and everything was stopping. And congratulations, Basecamp. I don't even know if you're a left or right company. I don't care. Thank you for having the balls to stand up against it. And I have to tell you something. All these companies that are requiring you to take your vaccine, I suggest that if you are 55, 60 years old, you have any kind of health problems, no matter what your age, get your vaccine. Get your vaccine. If you've already had it, just look for when it starts to come back again. I'm not getting vaccinated, not because I don't trust it or anything else. I just had COVID, and I had a bad case of it, around Christmas time. We'll see. It probably should last about a year. I'm not going to get a double dose of it. I'm not going to have my kids get a dose because they're all healthy.
There's also a window after you have it that you're not supposed to get the vaccine.
Correct.
Yeah, so you got to watch that anyway.
So I'm all for vaccines. I am. However, I'm not for anybody forcing people to have the vaccine at all. And that includes companies. And I am proud to say that Mercury Studios, much to some people's celebration or chagrin, we are not forcing you to get a vaccine. You want to get a vaccine? That's your business. You don't want to get a vaccine? That's your business. Companies have got to start worrying about what they do, not what everyone is telling them to do.
Yeah, it makes people not want to take it. It's like, people are like, what do we do about these people who don't want to take the vaccine? I don't know. Let them live their lives and respect their decision. And you know what? Maybe try to persuade them with good evidence.
Right. Persuade them by doing this. Don't tell the people that are on national television to social distance of 6 feet and wear masks and promote this fear when everyone last night watching that speech has already been vaccinated.
Wouldn't it have been a great message?
They've all been vaccinated.
It wouldn't it have been a great message if they all came out there, all of them, with no masks because they would all been vaccinated, and he could have started the speech that way. Look at this room. This is an old school room. This is the room you remember from 2019. Everybody's here. Everybody has their mask off because everyone's vaccinated. You can go back to this life if this is you. Like that's a message you can send. And instead of that, they made it sound like it was absolutely worthless to get the vaccine. Even people like Nancy Pelosi, who are sitting there not even talking, they're not even having interactions with each other unless they're off camera.
Amen.
And it makes it look like there's no benefit of getting it. People have already moved in large numbers from people who are skeptical to people who either have received the vaccine or are now going to get it because they've seen, positive results from it. That's all you have to do. Right. Stand by your product.
Yeah, that's it. And would you do me a favor? See if we can get the footage that we had last night, the network coverage, just the open cameras.
The open feed.
It ran for about 45 minutes. The feed ran as everybody was coming in. No social distancing. They were all talking. Many of them had their masks down underneath their nose, right up in each other's faces, kissing each other's on the cheek. It was only when they knew the cameras were on nationwide that they changed their behavior. It was sickening to watch. All right, let me tell you about our sponsor this half hour. It is Goldline. For as much as I talk about cryptocurrency, I will tell you I'm not counting on cryptocurrency. I'm hoping, but I'm not counting on it because all they have to do is Janet Yellen come out and say, you know what? That's not the future. It's not going to happen. We're going to our own cryptocurrency, which I think the United States is going to, and it is over. It is over. I have money in cryptocurrency. Love it. Love it. Am I counting on it? No. Am I counting on gold and silver? You bet your ass. And I'm not buying paper gold or paper silver. Don't anything that, well, we'll have it. There's always a supply of it. We'll get it and ship it to you if you need it. No, get it shipped to you. Get it shipped to you. Physical gold. Please prepare for impact. last night's speech was so important. We have spent $19 trillion in the last year. Inflation is coming. When I say your dollar in your bank account is going to be worth 48 cents maybe in 4 years, or 52 cents, gold is not going to be. You won't lose your money on gold. It will remain, it will look as though it's going up, but it's not. It's just that your dollar is going down. Please, I purchased gold for insane times, and I'm sorry, we are in insane times. Call Goldline and find out if gold or silver is right for you. Call them, find out what a qualified IRA means, and learn about their 6% free metals promotion, qualified self-directed IRA acquisitions. They're waiting to hear from you now at 866-GOLDLINE, 866-GOLDLINE, or goldline.com. This is the Glenn Beck program. Stu, what do you have coming up today on Stu Does America?
Got a bunch of other takes on the speech from last night. Pat Gray will be joining us with his perspective as well, which is always very solid. We're also going to be doing this. I got to do this Conor McGregor story. Have you heard this?
No.
You know, the UFC fighter. He got in trouble in 2019 because he was at a bar and he wanted to give someone a shot of his whiskey, and they said no. So obviously he was like a 50, 60-year-old guy. He just punched him in the face, which is not normally the reaction of most people. But again, the guy's a UFC fighter. So he got very upset about this, apparently, and he's also very wealthy. And now he's decided to take care of the situation. He's purchased the pub where it occurred and banned the guy from the pub.
Oh, my gosh.
2 years later.
Oh, my gosh. That's fantastic.
That's a solid. I mean, that's when you know you have, I mean, they call it screw you money.
F-you money.
Yeah, okay, yes, F-you money.
Yes, F-you money.
And when you have that much, where you can just buy a pub just to get one guy
a lot.
banned. You
that
don't like.
is a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
You got to have a lot of money for when you're just doing that. Yeah, I'm buying. In fact, I bought your house last night. Get out. That's a sweet life he's living.
The guy's like,
sweet
I wouldn't go back there anyway. Why would I? Why would I want to go back?
Don't wreck it for me, please. Don't wreck it for me. Today on Stu Does America, and my podcast comes out today. You don't want to miss it. Blaze TV.
This is the Glenn Beck program.
I am. Hustler Turf been making the zero-turn lawnmower since the 1960s. They're the people that invented it. They will cut your lawn mowing time in half. They are built to last. They were built to, mow football fields and parks and the sides of the highway. So they were made to run 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day, every single day. And so they are built to last. And now they're making them for you. And I urge you to test drive a Hustler. There's nothing like it. They are built like tanks and really, really good. It is a Hustler at hustlerturf.com. Find a dealer near you at hustlerturf.com. Radio program begins in just a second.
What you are about to hear is the fusion of entertainment and enlightenment. This is the Glenn Beck program.
Hello, America, and welcome to the Glenn Beck program. Hey, more spending on the way, and no designated survivor tonight. What could possibly go wrong? Tonight, the joint address of President Biden. We begin there in 60 seconds.
The Glenn Beck program.
All right, America. Let me first of all welcome you to the program. Thank you for listening to us. We've got a really great show as we prepare for the speech tonight. We'll give you all the details on that. But first, let me just take a couple of seconds and talk to you about realestateagentsitrust.com. Realestateagentsitrust.com is a company that I started with my brother, gosh, I don't even know, 7 years ago now? And we started it, and before we even talked about it on the radio or anything, it was really a labor of love that kind of came out of